Okay, let's be honest. No character reveal in Wuthering Waves history has melted the internet quite like Chisa's. The second her silhouette hit social media, players lost their minds. There was something hypnotic about her presence, the mix of danger and beauty that made it feel like Kuro had just dropped the next meta-defining goddess. People weren't just hyped, they were obsessed. Everyone thought she'd be the Havoc Bane powerhouse who'd redefine the game's combat forever. Then, the rumor mongers began spreading their forbidden knowledge and suddenly, the winds have shifted. So, let's talk about it. Is Kuro actually going to screw over Chisa? Or is this another case of the community jumping the gun before the full picture is out? Yo! Welcome back to the channel! Kamusta po sa inyong lahat? From her first reveal, the internet practically combusted. She was the perfect mix of mystery, elegance, and raw threat. Like she'd slice through reality itself if you looked at her the wrong way. Players envisioned her as the Havoc Bane juggernaut who'd rip through enemies with surgical precision and cold fury. But now it's starting to look like Kuro Games might have taken that fantasy and swapped it for something far more subdued. Believe it or not, the scissor-wielding queen of chaos may not be a destruction dealer at all, but a support unit, a healer even. The very idea feels almost ironic. A character who looks born to destroy, reduced to patching wounds. But before we dive any deeper though, quick shout out to today's sponsor, Loot Bar. If you're looking to top up Lunites, Asteroids, or grab those Battle Pass exclusives for Shuiyuan, Chisa, or any of the upcoming version 3.0 Resonators, use my Loot Bar link down in the description for up to 25% savings. Not only are you saving money, but you're also helping the channel keep the lights on. Loot Bar is trusted by thousands of players worldwide with stellar Trustpilot reviews. And with their mobile DIY top-ups, you get discounts without ever sharing your password. So, yeah, hit that link for an extra 10% off your first purchase. And huge thanks to Loot Bar for sponsoring this video. Now, back to Chisa. The kind of twist that makes you pause and ask, what exactly is Kuro thinking with her? People compared her to Zani in terms of sheer popularity. Everyone wanted her. Some even skipped characters like Augusta, Yuno, and even Galbrena just to save for her. That's how high expectations were. She had that Havoc aesthetic that screamed power. Dark, elegant, untouchable. But as leaks began to roll in, the story started to twist. What was once thought to be a nuke-level DPS is now rumored to be a DOT support. And not even a general one, but one is specifically built for negative status effect teams. Things like Aero Erosion and Spectrofrazzle. On paper, that sounds cool. Negative status effects have always had potential, but they're very niche. And the problem? Her rumored damage output sits somewhere around Cantarella or Lupa levels. Solid, but far from main DPS material. We're talking less than 300k per rotation here. That's fine for a support, but not for someone hyped as the face of a new damage archetype. Chisa was supposed to be a detonation waiting to happen, not a sparkler at a birthday party. To make matters worse, her true DPS potential is said to be locked behind her 6th sequence. 6th! That's whale territory, folks. Only the top 1% of players will ever touch that. Everyone else gets a diluted version of what could have been the Havoc Queen. If that's true, it's a bold move from Kuro. Bold and maybe a little tone deaf. But there's something deeper to this. Kuro Games has a habit of baiting expectations. Remember how some characters seemed underwhelming at first, only to later turn out essential in specific comps? It could be the same play here. Chisa might look weak in isolation, but her real value might come from enabling entire team archetypes. Think about it. A support that enhances negative effects like Aero Erosion could make certain Resonators finally shine. Shuiyuan, for example, could pair up nicely with her if her kit involves echo skill damage. that synergy could open up some creative builds we haven't seen before. Still, the rumor mongers make one thing clear. Her gear synergy is kinda messy. The supposed main echo for her, the Reminiscence Renodian Leviathan sword, is tied to a fusion set but boosts havoc damage and resonance liberation. Sounds great until you realize it doesn't align with her rumored support role. It's like giving a chef a shovel and asking them to make gourmet sushi. Maybe Kuro plans to release a new set specifically for her, one that scales with negative status buffs, because giving her rejuvenating glow, for example, just doesn't make sense. She'd get no meaningful benefit from it, and her healing wouldn't scale properly. So, what exactly is her place in the roster? If we assume she's indeed a healer and buffer, then her value depends entirely on how smooth her rotations are. Aero erosion teams could benefit a lot. The Aero Rover's healing can feel kinda sluggish, slowing down the rotation of units like Shakona or Kartithia. If Chisa can do faster heals and buffs, that's already a win. She might not hit hard, but she could make your main DPS hit faster and more often. And that's subtle power, the kind that doesn't look flashy on damage charts but matters in the long run. Now, Spectrofrazzle is a little trickier. Zani, who thrives on Spectro stacks, still struggles with generating and energy. Phoebe helps, but their rotation can be energy hungry and clunky. If Chisa can streamline that, even if her numbers are modest, she might end up being the missing piece in these teams. She could be the stabilizer, a character who makes everything else work better. And that's not sexy gameplay, but it's absolutely valuable. Now, let's talk perception. Wuthering Waves is a game where damage equals worth. Buffers and healers are often seen as luxury picks until they become meta. DPS units are the ones who get the spotlight, even though their shelf lives are short. Supports last longer, but they rarely get the fanfare. So if Chisa really is a support first and a DPS later, her value will only be appreciated with time. Still, for players who saved up hoping for a new queen, it feels like a betrayal. And we kind of seen this play out before. Because we have Zani. Zani was the darling of the first half of Rinascita. Everybody just wanted her, and for a while she felt like the crown jewel of the roster. But once players got their hands on her, opinions started to fracture. Her kit, while visually stunning, turned out to be a balancing act of mechanics that demand precision, yet delivered only middling results when misplayed. Some called her misunderstood brilliance, others called her overdesigned mediocrity. It became a cautionary tale of hype versus execution. Now, as whispers about Chisa's kit grow louder, fans can't help but wonder if history is repeating itself. Is Chisa destined to walk that same tightrope? Beloved before release, then questioned once she hits the field. And that brings us back to the heart of it. Did Kuro screw over Chisa? Or are we just misunderstanding her design? Maybe she's not meant to be a havoc bomb. Maybe she's the calm before the storm. The character who quietly controls the battlefield through negative status amplification rather than brute force. Now, it's ironic really. The girl who looks like she could slice the world in half might instead be the one who holds it together. Still, there's no denying the disappointment. The community built her up as the next game-breaking DPS. If she turns out to be a glorified buffer, it's going to sting. But that sting might fade once players actually use her and realize how flexible she truly is. Maybe Kuro's not sabotaging her at all. Maybe they're setting her up as the cornerstone for the next phase of Team Comms, paving the way for future Havoc and DOT Resonators. But in the end, Chisa's design might just be a misunderstood kind of brilliance, or maybe a serious misfire. It all depends on how Kuro balances her and what kind of content comes next. If they release more enemies and resonators that synergize with her status effects, she could become essential. And if not, she risks fading into obscurity, another victim of overhype and under-delivery. If this video resonated with you, please leave a like for massive healing, subscribe to get insane damage, and hit the bell for extra buff blessing. Thank you so much for watching. Maraming salamat po, and I will see you in the next video drop. Goodbye!